If you're generating PDF from HTML, Playwright is probably the best tool you can use. The challenge is how to set it up in a production environment in a way it can scale. Once Playwright uses a lot of memory and a lot of resources. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create your own serverless API to convert HTML to PDF using Lambda, AWS, and Playwright. So let's jump right into it. Let's start. I have this scaffolding of a project here. It's really just a Typescript project. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install Playwright on the project, and I'm going to install also there you go. Yeah, I'm going to add Typescript, TS node, and TS types nodes. That's just to jumpstart on our project over here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import Chromium from Playwright, and it already jumps with an autocomplete for me here. And basically, this is like this hello world for Playwright that you see everywhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to instantiate a Chromium browser. I'm going to create a context from it. You can instantiate a page directly using the browser, but I don't recommend. I recommend using the context to have better control on the session cookies, local storage, stuff like that. And you're going to instantiate a page using this context. The regular go-to code usually is page go-to some URL and page dot screenshot to take a screenshot of this page or to evaluate this page. The only thing different we're going to do here is we're going to set up an HTML content. We're going to set this HTML content on Playwright, and we're going to wait until network idle. This is important, especially if you're using external libraries or loading up images on your HTML content over here. And you're going to just output the PDF here on your folder. You can add other options here. I'm not going to go through this because this is not a Playwright tutorial. I'm going to show you this also on the handler. Now let's try it out. So let's use yarn PS node. Here you go. It's work properly. And yeah, it's generated the output PDF here. Hello PDF. Hello world, this is my PDF. All right. There's deleted. So this is the standard, like how to create PDFs using Playwright. It's really easy to do. You can find it in a lot of places. The hard part is how to use this in production. So let's start that part right now. So the first thing we're going to do is going to create a handle TS file here. Here we're going to insert the handle function connecting to the AWS Lambda. So const handle, we're going to sync. This is a basic. Let me do this. Export. Refer it this way. You create a handler, and you basically receive an event in a context, and you have to return a status code and a body for a AWS handler. I also like to import some of the types here that we're going to be using, context, and over here, I can say it's a promise. There you go. You can import those types over here. And once I'm importing types only, I can do like this. Can add types AWS Lambda. There you go. And this should stop. There you go. So we're not going to be using context here, and the context is over here. And so yeah, we're not going to be using context. But what we will do is we'll copy and paste this code here on the handle itself. And of course, I have to import Chromium from Playwright. And over here, instead of receiving any, I'm going to be receiving the HTML content. And yeah, I can destructure the HTML content here, so I don't have to hard code it. And basically, Oh, and I don't have to save the final PDF on the path here. What I have to do is when I don't have a path to find, it returns a buffer, a PDF, and then I'll just return the buffer here as a string, as a base64 string. This is like the minimum they have to do. Of course, there's a lot of problems regarding this structure, so let's fix it a little bit more. First, let's try inserting this in a try catch and catch here. Here we can say like, oh, sorry, internal server error. Okay, this is a message for error. Okay, so this is the basic setup that you need in order to make it work on the AWS Lambda for you to convert HTML to PDF. But let's start some best practices here to make it better and more resilient on production. So the first thing is I'm going to accept PDF options here as optional, and the PDF options are going to go in through here. And oops, this is a string. I already created this interface with everything that you can use as a PDF option on Playwright. You can check the documentation as well. It's pretty straightforward there. But I'm going to import it here from the interface. Okay, and the PDF options goes here from the event, and we're here. Let's do this to be more resilient as well. If the user doesn't send the data properly, you can do some validations here over here as well. So if you didn't receive the HTML content, just status code for 100, saying that it's required. But yeah, this is the first step. The second step I would do is I would separate everything that can be separated in a different function. For instance, I could create an async function called generate PDF here, which would accept HTML content and PDF options, and will output a buffer. And let me see if it's already copying here. This part, it is. So let's do this inside try catch. So the error, I will just show an error here, so I don't have to do that. I can just remove the catch, but I will use the finally, and have to bring the browser outside of the try catch so I can use it later. This one I'll paste directly on the try, and after that I'll return the PDF buffer here. And on the final page, I can't forget to close both the browser and the context, and closing the context before the browser, otherwise it will error, because if I close the browser, it could automatically close and lose reference from the context. So I have to be careful with that. So this generate PDF is going to be over here. Instead of loading the browser, stuff like that, and closing, I will be generating the PDF, receiving the HTML content and the PDF options, and the PDF buffer is going through here. And another thing that's really important is in order for this to work, I need to pass some additional parameters here on the browser and also on the context itself. So let me copy and paste this so you can use it. If you don't do this, it won't work on AWS Lambda. So this, especially because this forces the Playwright instance to be on a single thread, and to disable the sandbox and a lot of other stuff that it needs to be set up on a more restricted environment like the Lambda is. And the context over here. Okay, so I separated the function, so it's better now to evaluate the code and to fix everything. I already inserted the arguments that you need. Now, another thing that's a really best practice to do is to insert a few console logs here. So you can debug it better on CloudWatch to understand where the code is stopping. So you can use this prefix here. No, show any data that can be sensitive, but okay, initializing, show call. Over here, you can say, you can even console error here to know what's going on. Over here, you can say console log. PDF generated successfully. Yeah, and you can say here console.log setting original content. I also like to say when it's when we open the browser. So over here, console log launching browser, reading context, and over here, closing context and browser. And that's it. I think that's the minimum console logging that you need in order to take a better look and at your CloudWatch logs and better understand what's going on. And yeah, and other best practices here would be to one thing that you need is to clean your temporary folder. So what happens is sometimes AWS Lambda jumpstarts this container and make it work, but the cleaning of the temporary files doesn't work very well. And Chromium uses a lot of temporary files, so you generate like 10 HTML to PDF conversions and starts jamming and starting to break the serverless calls. So one thing we're going to do over here is we're also going to import exec_sync from child processes, and at the beginning of the process, we're going to do a cleanup here. So we're doing an exec_sync, not hello world. We're going to do a trim, right? So, and clean temporary files. There you go. That's easier to do. And the last thing I would do in a production environment, instead of sending the PDF buffer as a base64 over here, and oh yeah, there's a few things missing here as well. I could send headers with the application content type, and I could also insert here is base64 encoded true. But one thing I would do in production environment, instead of sending the buffer, I would definitely instead of sending the PDF buffer, upload the PDF to an S3 bucket and return the signed URL. Yeah, so that way, if you generate a huge PDF, it won't jam the returning of your AWS Lambda call. So yeah, those are the best practices on how to design your Lambda function in order to generate the PDF conversion. So once again, HTML content and PDF options receiving from the event, cleaning the temporary files before that, making data validation if you received HTML content over here, separating the generate PDF function over here so it's easier to maintain. And yeah, do this try catch here so you can better understand and console log everything so it's easier to find on your CloudWatch. Okay, once it runs. All right, so right now we're going to go to the deployment part. So how to deploy it to your AWS. So I created this Dockerfile for you so I don't have to type everything. But the first thing I start this image using a Node.js image. After that, I install all the dependencies that I need for Playwright to run and for Chromium to run. After that, I copy everything, all the files, all the dependencies to the correct place. I set the correct permissions so I can build the image. And over here is where I install, after everything, the Chromium on the AWS Lambda. And here is the final where my handler is. So that would be dist handler, which is my function name here. Again, handler. And yeah, it's the Docker is ready to go. All I have to do right now is to create an ECR repository on AWS. And after that, you can tag your image. You can have to do the auth to authentication to send and to push this image to the ECR, and we're going to create the Lambda function using this image as a reference. On the README file, there's everything you need to know about this, and on the package.json as well. Here, I also inserted these scripts. The difference is instead of this, which is my AWS user ID, you're going to paste yours. How to do it? You're going to see it over here on top, and this is your ID. All you have to do is click and select this account ID, and yeah, paste it over here and this part. And after that, all we have to do is run these scripts to create your ECR. I already ran the script to create this one. But yeah, what you have to do is over here, yarn ECR create. That way you create this ECR. And after that, all you have to do is yarn deploy. And under the hood here, I'm building the application. I'm tagging the Docker image. I'm running the authentication, and I'm pushing it to the ECR. And I'm going to fast forward this a little bit. Once the image is ready, we're going to AWS console to create our Lambda and test it out. All right, so everything's done here. One thing I forgot to mention, it's really important. If you're using Mac and on M1 series of processors, you need to cross-build using this command over here, especially because the AWS Lambda runs on RX 8664, and but M series runs on AMD 64. So you have to cross build it to build it to the correct configuration of your computer. Okay, so this is important. If you're not using Mac, just run a regular Docker build instead of the Docker build X, and everything will run smoothly. Okay, this is an important tip that I forgot to mention before. So right now I just shipped and pushed my ECR to the latest version that I have here built. All I have to do is enter my AWS console here and enter the lambdas and create a function here. I'll create using the container image. Let me call it Playwright PDF generation. And I'm going to browse an image here, selecting the ECR repository I just created. And I'm going to select the image with the latest tag also. You don't have to change anything here. I have to just create a function. One thing that's important to configure as well on the function is the RAM and the timeout needed in order to generate Playwright. So we're going to go on configuration and edit here. It's recommended to have at least 1034 of megabytes configured. I usually use 2048 for the memory, and for the ephemeral memory, I use 1034. And for the timeout, a minimum of 30 seconds for small PDFs, or 60 seconds or more for larger PDFs. Okay, so let's save here. And we're updating the function. After it's ready, you can invoke this using the SDK from AWS. You can create an API gateway over here to call your functions. It's up to you. I'm not going to go deeper into that subject. All I have to know is that this event is where we're going to test it. Hello world. Oops, there we go. Oops, forgot the close and tag. And test it out. And it should run smoothly. There you go. Status 200, and this is the buffer of the PDF file that you can convert directly into what you want. And here are the logs that you can see. So everything is up and running, and that's how you deploy Playwright to an AWS function, so you can run it asynchronous servers in a serverless environment. I'm sharing this repository on GitHub on the description, so if in case you need to copy anything or see anything, it's on the description. Also, I'm sharing an article that has a step-by-step process that I've just went through that you can take a look at and replicate on your environment. And as an alternative to doing all of this, you can also use like a PDF generation API. I recommend using PDF Noodle, which I personally use. I'll also leave the link on the description so you can try it out as well if you don't want to manage all this infrastructure headache. And if this video helped you in any way, leave a comment, leave your like over here as well. Or if you have any questions or you are having trouble doing the setup on your environment, just let me know and I'll help you out, okay? Thank you.